Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed AV podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. We got another new guest. I am really excited. We are going north of the border. We're going international today. Even though I don't know, is Canada actually international? That's something we have to talk about. These are our brethren from just the other side. And really, Toronto isn't really, you know what? We can just annex it, because it's really just on the other side of the border. It's practically there. You know what? Maybe those were fighting words. Maybe I've just started a border war with my monologue. I don't know. But again, everyone, thank you for coming and listening again. We're weeks in a row. Look at that. After my hiatus and all that, we're back into this is 4 or 5 weeks in a row I'm doing this thing. So that is great. And so, no further ado, everyone's favorite part of the show where I stop talking and our guest starts. So, Matt, welcome to the show. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Joe. Hopefully we won't, be in some kind of international dispute after this episode, but let's see where the conversation takes us. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt O'Reilly. I am the manager of events and classroom experience at the University of Toronto Mississauga. I am also currently serving as the AVIXA Certification Steering Committee Chair. So those of you who would have gotten CTS credentials over the last year and 9 months or so probably have my name on your certificates. So that's where you might have seen my name before.
That's pretty rad. All right, I got to make sure to get to that, but let's start with kind of what you do in your daily role, because you've been there for a number of years. A little behind the scenes, as people know, I don't script, but I do keep LinkedIn open. Your whole career is basically higher ed. You've gone through it all. So will you go and start us at the beginning of the journey, how you got through this, and then we're going to cap it off with kind of what you do in your daily.
Sure. I mean, most of us have always been, technology nerds to some degree in this field. So in high school, I actually just started picking up the audio and lighting for school stuff that nobody else wanted to do. And then I fell into this, as most do, as a work study student back in 2000 and or 99, 2000, something like that. It's been a minute now. So I've worked up from the work study student, worked as a technician. I've worked on the install and maintenance side, the design side, and now I'm more on the management of the actual day-to-day operations. So I still get to do some of the design and some of the maintenance install, just not quite as much as I used to when I was in strictly those positions. But it's a lot of a lot of people leading now. I've got a really great team, which is great. I manage a team of 11, and they're highly skilled, and it's good to see that the AV is one of those things that is just universal. It's a really diverse crew, experience from all over the place, and even some with no experience that came in and just absolutely crushed all of the tasks that I asked them to. So sometimes it's also about personality, which is I found now the best way for me to gauge a hire, and when I'm looking to add someone to my team.
Absolutely. It's funny you said something. And let's go this way. When I hire, I like to always think that we are really in a sales and customer service role more than we are in a tech role. Now, that to be said, you still want to hire some of the best tech people, and people can understand it and do the job. But there is a little bit of a difference there, right, in that. So how do you, when you're kind of building that team and you're doing that, what are those qualifications that you are looking for?
So typically, I'm just looking for somebody that is willing to learn. Somebody who has soft skills is so much more valuable than somebody who has hard skills but hasn't really mastered any of the soft skill side. I'm looking for communicators. I'm looking for people who can really show me passion for something, right? And I found even people that want to change their careers into AV, they may not be passionate about AV, but if they show me that they're passionate about something, it shows me that they have that ability to care, and they have that ability to just be able to talk to people intelligently about whatever it is that I've asked them about. And I think that is been really key in my hiring practices. Is it becomes more of a gut feel more than anything else. Like there have been people that I've hired that have no AV experience whatsoever, and that person has just really shone. They've come into their own as technicians. Their confidence grows, and you get to see their confidence grow as they grow technical skills. But that willingness to learn, I can teach you anything except being willing to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, that is one of the things that I think also takes someone further in their career, right? Like,
Yeah.
as we're kind of looking at, like, even with, HEPMA recently, with, kind of how we're kind of taking our months and theming them. And now in September, we're talking about kind of building those systems. So those systems come from that ability to say, hey, I don't know everything. What are the processes I need? What are all of those wide skill sets that are needed to pull that together, so that I'm not, yes, you have to be able to do your job. You have to be able to do the thing that is your job description, your business title. But it's those ancillaries, and understanding and growing is also kind of how you end up getting into those management roles, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too, you hit on it as, as a system, but the important part of the system that people tend to not really consider because it's not actively there is that technician, or is that end user, right? We're in a very people first industry. And whether that's you as the user, or you as the integrator, or you as the, operations manager, whatever it happens to be, we are part of that system. All of us are in that system in some way. And I think what's interesting is, you sort of tend to lose that human connection because you see technology fail. But when the technology fails, like, what's there to pick that up? It's the people at the end of the day that have to communicate, right? So, and I think that ultimately, viewing ourselves as part of a system, as part of that system, and an integral part of that system, I think is really something that goes unnoticed a lot of the time, and really should be considered more.
100%. It's funny. It made me think of a story. I had a student worker. People actually know her in this industry, but I'll spare her the thing. And when she started for me, I, I used to joke that she would come. I would get emails after she'd go do a trouble ticket, and she'd come back and be like, "Yeah, I couldn't figure it out." And we'd send someone else to do it. But I get an email going, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sending it. It was such the greatest help." I'm going, but she didn't do anything yet, and but it was understanding, like, you got to solve the person before you solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
And then that now it's best when you have the combination, and yes, she grew into that and all that stuff. But this was like week 2 of working, like you said, people that come into the industry that aren't there, but they have that thing, right? They go, all you got to do, I mean, the stuff I can teach you, but I can't teach you that personality, that relational stuff that you're going to bring to. And it's like, once you got that, everything else. But that is a key to this, and in kind of taking that into our industry.
Yeah, and people really really appreciate that interconnectivity, because they don't necessarily get that a lot, especially in higher ed. It's a lot of talking heads. It's a lot of what we're doing now. But there's not really a lot of interpersonal, necessarily, unless something goes wrong, right? And you know that as well as I do, is that the second something goes wrong is when we're the most visible. But it's how we approach that opportunity to have that conversation with someone. I had a conversation, a really positive conversation this week, with a faculty member who was just, they were upset about the way that something happened in a space, and rightfully so. And what I said to this individual was that, we should always be collaborators. We should not be, just viewed as, hey, you got to fix this for me. It's a question of, how can I collaborate with you to make this a better experience, not only for you, but for the students who we're serving ultimately at the end of the day, because they're the ones that are taking all this information in. And anything that we take away from them really takes away from their experience of the faculty member, of the institution as a whole, et cetera, right? And we're the most visible, whether or not people understand how we're visible. We're the most visible force out there. And I think that's having people who are really people first and people focused is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you say that, because I say this all the time in our IT leadership meetings, that my group is the face of all of IT, right? We are the true boots on the ground, right? Well, yes, we have a huge department of programmers and this and network people and cable, all of that. But we're the ones when something happens that are there. We're the ones that are doing the training on the end product. We're the ones do, and so to say, look, we're most important, and we also can give the most feedback to
Yeah.
all the way to leadership, because we're the ones with that that personal connection.
Yeah, and to your point, that feedback becomes so invaluable because that's what allows us to drive improvement, right? And at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking to do, whether it's the faculty looking for improved technology or us looking to figure out better ways to do things. Everybody's just looking for improvement opportunity, and if we can provide that, then I think we're showing our value to the institution, not just from a technological standpoint, but from the standpoint of, hey, we are showing continual improvement, and this is the reason why our departments need X budget, or we need to work in greater collaboration with you.
Yep. 100%. 100%. I love that. I love that. I want to kind of move a little bit more back to kind of your role. And this
Sure.
is where I get to ask selfish questions. It's the beauty of having your own podcast. If you want to learn something, you just invite somebody on and ask them. It's great. Um, so what we're actually seeing is a big movement, I think, in our vertical to um, groups and AV groups that are both the classroom technology and the events technology. That wasn't always the case, and I don't know if it has to do with the way the technology is evolving. This is I'm going to get to a question at some point. If it's a change just in our vertical and all that, but it used to be very much, I am classroom support, I am under provost at a library or whatever, and then I am the events people dragging all this stuff. In my new role, I do have both verticals under me. You do too. Has it been that way? How do you go, and how do you manage a group where you kind of have those similar but different, I'll call them? I don't know. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so it's interesting because previously, I moved to UTM in 2018. And previously, I never had to deal with the event side of things. It was that split that you mentioned, but UTM, fortunately, is in a unique position where our group also gets to look after the events. And I think um, what's interesting, it gives us sort of live event experience. And so we have people on our team that, I have a theater production background. I have a couple of people that came from broadcast, that came from live events. I have people that have no experience, and I have people that are strictly classroom experience. Um, Obviously, the technology has changed. The technology has become sort of interchangeable between the classrooms and the event side to some degree. Um, but I think it's just a matter of, again, going back to willingness to learn, right? Like my team loves the diversity of the events. We have orientation, we actually just finished up. So our orientation runs from the Labor Day weekend and then straight through the first week of classes. So we're supporting both classes and events simultaneously. And the advantage we have of doing that is we know our gear, we have all of the things that we need to make it happen. It's just about putting bodies in the right places. And fortunately, our team has been very receptive and um, very uniquely situated in terms of um, the opportunities they've been afforded. So it's not been a real challenge because it's just something that they've taken on naturally, which has been great to see. We've done things orientation. We don't do graduations because the university is actually a tri-campus, so we're one of the satellite campuses off of the main one that's in downtown Toronto. But so they handle graduation, but we'll do orientation. We've been involved in powwows for the Indigenous groups. We've been involved in just small like principals dinners. We've been involved in helping put on at the principal's residence a full-on Shakespeare in the Park in their backyard, which so we get all these experiences, but the advantage we have is that what we've been able to rely on most is each other as a team and on the equipment that we know and that we can control. Outside of that, trying to bring events in, I think the only challenging part really is the sheer number of events, because once you start getting a reputation that the events are going really well, you start getting more and more requests and more and more requests and more and more requests. And that's where it starts to get a little dicey. It's like, okay, this actually has to be planned. We need floor plans. We need like some kind of something. We can't just drop speakers where you want us to drop them. We had an event where, unfortunately, they didn't give us a floor plan, and they put generators for inflatables where they wanted us to put speakers, and that's like, so we're fighting generator noise and all kinds of other things. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it just gives the teams opportunity for challenge, for learning, and I think that's where that intersection is easier to manage. Is like I say, and it goes back to, like I said earlier, having people willing to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, I always think like, because I came through live events before coming into the quote unquote commercial integration side. I always think though, the best troubleshooters are those live events people, because
Yeah.
there is no sense of we can get to it later, or get to it when class is done. We'll fix like, nope, show goes on. Like they can see where the signal flow ended in the blink of an eye, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There is no, we'll fix this in post. This is the one take. That's it.
Yep, 100%. So I'm gonna do a horrible host thing and ask you a two-part question. And
Okay.
it's this. All right. So having both sides, what's the thing that our commercial integration AV people can learn from live events people, and vice versa? What's the thing live events people could learn from our commercial integration side?
Oh, you really gave me the two-parter, huh? Okay. I think from the commercial integration side, I think just being able to have that ability to troubleshoot more logically, I would say, from the live event people, because the live event people, to your point, they know where that signal flow ends, and they know if it's if it's a preamp, or they know, like, because they've really honed in and they've gone through the steps, and they know where something's going to break.
Yeah.
So I would say probably just more logic driven problem solving than I've seen, because in some cases, the commercial integration side, I've seen people just flip that processor and it's like turn it back on and hope that solves the problem, right? Um, from the commercial integration side to the live event side, um, I would say the commercial integration side, I think the needs a little more work on the collaboration side. I think it's harder, it's easier to get into a bubble on that commercial integration side and not work as effectively as you can work. I mean, there is always, um, there's always going to be disagreement, or there's always going to be some problem that comes up somewhere. But I find that in live event, there seems to be a lot more collaboration, and I don't know if it's just because it's that one take and that's it, or if it's just because so much pre-planning has gone in. I think there's improvement to be made, I think, on that side, on the commercial integration.
That is a great point. It's funny, I never really thought about that. But if you think like if you're brought in for a live event, you think how many pre-meetings do you have? How many walkthroughs with the talent or the producer, whoever? Okay, what's the run of show? How are we going to do this? Let's make sure. Wait, are you sure you want that? There's so much going through that and that prep. And then you go to kind of our classroom people and you go, okay, they go, oh, we need a new classroom. And then all of a sudden they're sending out drawings. I'm like, you haven't even done a site walk. You haven't done a needs analysis. You haven't done, and you jump straight to, well, this is our standard classroom. This is what we're put like there. It's an automatic jump to a solution, right?
Yeah, and that gets really dangerous, right? Like that to me is, not only is it the death of innovation, but you know not having or jumping straight to a standard doesn't really mean anything. I mean, to me, the standard becomes what is right for that user group. It's not the standard. I have standard classrooms, but what does that mean? One display, two display, usually falls to budget, usually falls to whatever it happens to be, size of the room, et cetera, right? But um, the danger of falling into the word standard is a word that's really difficult for me, because there are standards that we need to follow, building codes, AVIXA standards, like that kind of thing. When you're doing image size, all that stuff is so important. But when you're talking about the design, a design standard for a classroom especially is so difficult for me as a concept. And it's just because A, you're never going to satisfy everybody, but B, you could very easily disenfranchise any group depending on what that standard is, right? Like we have a lecture hall that is used by our cinema studies group, and there have been back and forth for years about whether or not it's going to change, et cetera. But if we turn that completely into a theater, then we can no longer use it for a math class or for a world religions class or something. It just turns into that sole purpose. And if that's the way that it needs to go, that's fine. But I think there's not enough attention paid to really what is needed, because if that's something that's needed, then there's obviously a larger need that we're not aware of across the institution. And I think that becomes an institutional problem more than I need this room specifically designed for this purpose. Because if we're designing purpose-built classrooms, then there's an opportunity for discussion that maybe hasn't been had, or that we're not having appropriately.
I love that. So, all right, then the question has to be, how do you balance standardization? Because at scale, right? I mean, there's a big
Yeah,
difference between a live event. It's a one-off. It's a one
yeah.
thing. It's a setup, and your 200 rooms that your AV techs have to go in, take the call, and know how to support. How do you balance personalization and standardization?
Yeah, and that's the real trick, isn't it? And that's sort of what unfortunately drives a lot of standardization. It's, hey, I have X amount of people, this is my budget, this is what I need to support. And as a result of that, like, you have to put the same equipment to some degree, right? With some variance, but you have to put the same equipment in the rooms, because to your point, if I have tech A go into one of our lecture halls, they better be able to support it just as well as tech B, who knows the room,
Hmm.
if they're coming from another side of the campus. Um, I think it becomes about the conversation, and it becomes about what realistically you as an operations group can support, right? Like, I don't want 200 individual rooms. The reality of that is just it's staggering to even think about the amount of troubleshooting that would have to happen, right?
Yep.
But there are certain things you could standardize on. HD base T connection, AV over IP, right? Like, there are certain protocols and things that you can standardize on that will make the troubleshooting similar in most of the rooms, but still give that personalization experience to the varying groups. And I think that's sort of where you have to make the concession, is figure out the things that you can standardize on, and then the ones that you know are going to be more personalized to specific groups, those you may be able to find some areas of compromise, so that you're not taking functionality away, or really making the user feel like they're not being heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And you hit on something there, which I think is a good transition into the next thing I want to make sure to cover, because you mentioned, make sure AVIXA standards, et cetera. You are one of the persons who obviously hates yourself and got all three CTSs. So the D, the I, the regular. Is there like another one coming, or is there not?
I got the AMP as well. No, so I got the AMP as well. So I have all of the certifications currently available. I don't know if there's another one coming. That's, that's not my purview. so, so hand to God, if anybody from AVIXA is watching, that's not on me. But yeah, I have all of them. The reason that I got all of them was, yeah, as as an AV person, I'm one of those people that hates myself and has to keep doing this to keep myself feeling like I've got some relevance. Um, but also, they're so important in being able to talk to people, whether internal or external, and have some weight behind what you're saying. I found that prior to getting even my CTS, I was designing at another institution, and I found that my voice was often getting shuttered, or decisions that would be agreed upon would suddenly be retroactively removed based on conversations that my leadership at the time had had. Um, and part of that was because clients change their minds every once in a while, and that's bound to happen. But part of it was also um, that credibility factor, right? Like, here's, in their eyes, some young kid who's designing classrooms. He doesn't know what he's doing. Um, and that's not to say people who don't have the certifications don't know what they're doing. There are a lot of great designers that just don't want that, and that's totally fine. I think what was important for me was, especially when I was a little younger, is that getting those certifications shows that I know what I'm talking about. I know that I have been trained, and I can talk to you about the technology from the design perspective, from the install perspective, from the networking perspective, to a degree, with some importance, that I'm not just some guy off the street saying, "Hey, you really should just put a projector in here because I think you need, the I think you need a stadium level projector audio system just because I think it would be cool." I want to show reasons why well, you need multiple displays for this reason, or you need to go video wall for this reason, right? I don't want to be that person who's just making suggestions and it's being shot down simply because it's like, oh, he just wants to put a ton of screens in the space,
Yep.
right? And conversely, I also want to be able to tell you why to not put so many screens in place. There are cases for neurodivergence and um, accessibility reasons why you wouldn't want a ton of technology in the space, depending on who you're designing for. And to be able to take into consideration those accessibility and sustainability needs, you have to have somebody who knows what they're talking about, or who can prove that they know what they're talking about, which is why, to me, those certifications became so important.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and it's so funny because I remember when I just came into my recent role and I looked at like plans and stuff that had been done by contractors or vendors. And it's like, again, that kind of saying, we're going to throw this big old projector screen here. It's like, well, have you even run the math on this? Or seen,
Yeah.
by the way, you just took away every writing surface on Earth by putting all this big thing there. Let's never mind. It's like, and I remember redesigning one and ended up, I think there's literally 10 screens in that room. Like, why don't you just put this? Like, because it doesn't work. The math doesn't tell us it works, right? Now, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
have to be crazy to design something like this, but this is what it says. And then the room next door, I did the complete opposite. I'm like, wait, why didn't you do the same thing? Because the math tells me it doesn't work. I'm trying to like looking at where the seating is, what you're trying to get out of this room, what type of learning are you getting, tells me what we need to end up doing, right? That's where I get informed. And that's where I sit there and go, that's where I do the standardization. I'm going to use the same technology behind the scenes and under the, whether it's NVX or whatever, to send the signal from place to place. I can change how many screens. I can change, what speaker location. I can change that. And I just use the same control and the same monitoring and all that behind the scenes, which helps me get that, right? So to me, that's where I get that difference, right? And
Yeah.
leveraging that out. And it's funny because you maybe even think of, with the kind of having that credibility behind the CTS, which I totally agree with. I remember years ago, because coming through live events, to be honest, I mean, now AVIXA is doing great stuff with live events.
Yeah.
When I came through it, for most of my career, you didn't need a CTS. You
Yep.
got street cred, especially living in LA and in the entertainment industry. Your street cred was what got you hired the next time, not a
Yeah.
certification, right?
Yep.
But then when I came into to Cal Baptist and I remember sitting very early. I had just gotten my CTS because I knew, okay, well, this is a different industry. Commercial integration is different. Higher ed is different. I got my, did my CTS. I'm sitting there in a meeting with an AV consultant, and they were basically talking at me and down to me only
Yep.
because they saw and they kept me Dr. Way this, and we're going to tell you to Dr. Way that, and blah blah blah, and this is how you should do it, and it was one of those like we're going to do a 16 input thing because they wanted 9 different inputs. We're going to give you the display port and the this and like who's had a VGA cable and how like but we're going to make sure every option is there. It's like oh, all you know how to do is spend my money. That's what you do. But they did this whole thing talking at me as to why we needed to do this. It wasn't till the very end of the conversation I gave him my card and it said, comma CTS. And the guy goes, "Oh, you're a CTS. Well, I guess you understand what I'm saying." I'm like, "Yes, and this is why we're going to change this and this and this and this and this." But it was like interesting walking away from the conversation going, "So my PhD didn't mean as much to you as the CTS."
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's so interesting to see what people view as important. Like to some people, and listen, the CTS, CTSD, CTSI, I think they're great. I think they're fantastic credentials, and I think everyone in our industry should get them because everyone probably has a reason to get them, right? Whether it's self-worth, etc. But everyone probably has a reason to do it, but they're not for everybody, and I understand that. Certainly AVIXA understands that, but the idea is everybody should be able to talk to other people in the industry and not feel talked down to.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me, that at the very bare minimum, that should be a human thing. But I mean, some people, specifically in our industry, right? And I'm talking external vendors typically, or consultants, people who've been doing it for years and years and years, especially depending on age, unfortunately, tend to view people like without that as somebody who doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about. They just know you're asking for these things, but they don't think that you really know what you want, and we know better because we've been doing this for so many years, right? And I think that alone is enough reason to just say, look, I'm going to go get this certification. I'm going to show you I know what I'm talking about. I'm doing the same thing for PMP right now because I'm a masochist. It's just what I do, right? Like this is just I have to keep getting credentials apparently. But I want to show you I know what I'm talking about, and I want to show you that I put in the effort to know what I'm talking about. So you need to understand that I'm coming at this from a position of education and wanting to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Right.
that's sort of the ultimate goal of it. I mean, some people sure they may need it for their jobs because it's a requirement. I think it's to show that you are willing to communicate and collaborate and do those things that some people don't want to do, but you're willing to show that you're going the extra mile to educate yourself and to really continually push yourself. And I think that's what those certifications are really good for.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Again, it goes all the way full circle to what you're saying about always learning, right? And it's
Yeah.
something that's tangible. And to be honest, when you're looking for another job, I mean, we're starting to see it. I'm putting CTS down on my thing. It's big. It's to the point where it means something. And I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that. We do need to move kind of to the rapid round coming up, but before that, you are on the standards committee. Can you give a little plug on that? What is it? What do you do with that? And just kind of educate people.
Yeah, so the certification steering committee is the committee that I chair currently. And there are actually new elections coming up for that in the very near future. So I think by the time this airs, the applications for the committee will be closed. There are positions for CTS, CTSD, and CTSI. Basically, we're a committee. We meet as frequently as needed. Just to go over, any changes to the way that certification is administered, um, a lot of us typically will reach out to people who are new CTS holders, who have recently passed their exams, myself included. I've reached out to countless members, and we get that feedback to take back to the certification group at AVIXA. We also, vote on any issues that or any policy changes that need to be done to certification is the main one. I also sit on the renewal committee. That committee is we meet once a week, so it's the most active committee, and we sit and we go over courses and whether or not they are getting RUs for renewal. So those, anytime you get a course that you go to that says approved for X amount of RUs for CTS, CTSD, CTSI, that's what that committee does. I would advise also, and I'm going to make a cheap plug on this for this, is to get involved with those kind of committees. The renewal committee, especially, it's really easy, not a lot of heavy lifting. People drop in and out as necessary, but definitely make those volunteer opportunities count. Organizations like HEPMA are great as well for networking, for just for peer discussion. Any kind of organization you can really get into that will allow you to expand into a broader AV network is only going to help you at the end of the day.
100%. 100%. I love that. I love that. So now the rapid round. Okay. Just fun questions that have no right or wrong answer unless I have an opinion of my own, in which case it could be a wrong answer.
Got it.
All right. So everyone gets the same first question. Higher ed is about traditions. So what is your favorite college tradition?
Oh, okay. I would have to say probably orientation. I think like just as a whole, that event, just being able to be a part of it, both as a student and as somebody who has worked on it, I think it's just a lot of fun. And it's community building, and there's a really good sense of everyone's here for the same purpose.
Yep. I love that. And I totally agree with it. And there's that excitement with orientation, right? They don't know what they're in for yet.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was in for, and now it's your turn. Yeah, that's it exactly.
Exactly. All right, I love it. All right, so when I go visit you in Toronto next time, there's a road show or something up there. By the way, I love Toronto. It's a great town. I love the fact you can walk the entire town almost underground. Like that wowed me about the city. Now maybe it's only a small section, but anyway, that was the section I was at. Anyway, when I come visit, where are we eating? Where are we drinking? What are we doing?
Okay. Easy answer right now, especially because it's still baseball season. Toronto Blue Jays game. I mean, you have to do that. There's a pub downtown called the Loose Moose. That is fantastic. The food, the drinks, the atmosphere, all gold.
I like it. And what's the beer of choice there?
Ooh. I think I'm gonna go Guinness. I'll go Guinness.
Wow! All right.
Yeah.
So you're going across the pond for it.
I am. There's there are certain beers that I can drink, and that's one of them for some reason. I tend to stay away from the pale ales a little more.
All right. Well, this is going to set up the next one. A little interesting. So we're going to play a game of, watch me get very stereotypical here. We're going to play a game of overrated, underrated. Okay. Here we go. And then you can fill in why if you wish. Niagara Falls.
I'm going to say overrated.
Overrated, and why?
Overrated. Because there are, I think, it's very touristy, and I think there are waterfalls in Canada, in Ontario, that I think are far more beautiful, and ones that are far less crowded.
Okay, You know what? I agree with you. That is a good answer. It was great when I went and buy it. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a waterfall. It's a lot of water. It's kind of the same thing after Vegas last year, and everyone wanted to go see the stupid Grand Canyon. Okay, I've been over the Grand Canyon. It's a hole in the ground, everybody. It's a big ass hole in the ground, but it's just a hole in the ground. Okay, there you go. So that's my
Fair.
opinion. All right.
All right.
So I would agree with you. Okay, overrated, underrated. The U.S. Canada tariff battle.
Oh, I'm gonna say that's overrated. I'm just I don't think that the politics between our two countries should have gotten to the state they're at. But I mean, it is what it is, and I think there's just far too much coverage of it, and I think that just needs to be left between the White House and the House of Commons here.
All right, another good answer. Look at that. Okay, overrated, underrated. Canadians saying A.
Oh, very overrated. Very overrated. We say sorry a lot. We say
Sorry.
sorry a lot. Um, I think all jokes aside, obviously it's part of our identity. It's what people associate most with us, other than apologizing and maple syrup, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Unless you're from Vermont. But yeah, it's not as ubiquitous as people think.
All
I
right.
think it's more, it falls more to, similar to people saying bless your heart when they live in the South,
Uh huh.
in the States. I think it's very similar to that. It's very colloquial to certain areas, but I think it's definitely overrated.
All right. All right. USBC. Overrated or underrated?
Jury's still out.
Oh.
Jury's still out. Jury's still out. I think there are positives. I think there are drawbacks, but I'm not 100% sold that it's going to be the be all end all, because next year I'm sure somebody's going to come out with this hot new one that's going to do all the things we want it to do.
All right, all right, all right. I like thinking that. All right, next up, underrated, overrated. U.S. teams winning the Stanley Cup.
Listen, you're asking the Toronto guy, and you asked about tradition.
Yeah.
Since 1967, it's been a tradition of mediocrity in this city, and it hurts. It hurts so bad every time, because you think, hey, they get your hopes up and they find the way to just dash them so expertly. So you know what? I think it's overrated because it's usually a foregone conclusion.
All right, all right, all right. And I'm not even a hockey fan, but I had to throw that one in there.
That's
All right,
fair. That's
here we
fair.
go. This is going back to one of your previous Labatt Blue.
Oh. Um, you're not sponsored by them, right?
No, no, not
Okay,
sponsored by
good.
them at all.
Yeah, just making sure. Yeah, any beer that is so close to water is really difficult to
I knew
to
you were going to
judge.
go there. I knew you were going
I
to
I
go there
have
with
to
your
listen.
famous answer.
I have to go there, and it's no slam against the U.S. I think we're having a pretty good rapport, but I think Labatt Blue is just one of those beers that it's just I like. There's barely beer there.
All right. And then the last one, I think I know how you're going to go on this, but here we
Okay.
go. Getting all of the CTSs. The
Oy.
O's, the D's, the everything. Overrated, underrated.
Um, yeah, that one I'd say underrated.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying underrated is because I think not enough people think that they can do it. I mean, and I've openly stated before, and I think it's even on the AVIXA page. I failed the D exam. I outright failed that thing a couple of times. One was because I was not ready for it, and the second one was because I got in my own head. So I think when people allow those intrusive thoughts in, and they start to think, "Oh, I'm not going to understand this, or I'm not going to do well on this, you're not, right? Self-fulfilling prophecy says you're not going to do it. But I think there are a lot of people that could really benefit from it, and that would be surprised by what they can achieve if they don't let those self-intrusive thoughts come in.
I love that. I love that. Great answer, and I agree. Look at we were pretty much aligned on that. So,
Yeah.
very last rapid round question. So this one is a little special. It's almost like a little bit of advice or whatever you want it to be. This is 1 minute. You get 1 minute. If you had your own show and you can talk about anything you want, 1 minute monologue. It doesn't have to be tech. It can be any topic on earth. And boy, there's been a lot of miscellaneous topics. 1 minute. Talk about anything you want. Your time starts now.
Um, I think I'm one of those people that really truly believes that soft skills are key, and developing communication skills and developing relationships with people is so important in any industry, not just AV. And I think that there are not enough people that are willing to go out of their way to develop those type of relationships, to talk to people, just and give them a minute to just talk about whatever they want. Everyone's so concerned about just getting through the day and not being bothered. And I think having conversations like the one we've had today, and having conversations just in general about anything, is such an important daily skill that we're all, I think, taking for granted, and really needs to be something that we need to bring back.
Absolutely. I love it. That was good. That was great. And that was almost exactly on a minute. It's like you had a timer. That
I
was
came
really good.
close.
All right. I guess last and most important question. How can people get a hold of you? I will put your LinkedIn in the show notes, but how can people get a hold of you? Should they want to connect with
Yeah, LinkedIn's the best way. Alternatively, I can be emailed at matt.o'reilly@utoronto.ca. It's just my name there without the apostrophe in it.
you? Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I greatly enjoyed it. It's always good connecting with you. And again, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed this. This episode, you can find me at all of the socials at Josiah Way on all the socials. Follow at Hired AV, and of course, make sure you join and connect with HEPMA_org and find out more about AVIXA and the committees there, and find him and get yourself involved. Get involved as much as you can in the industry. And as always, all the opinions expressed here are not necessarily of any of our respective institutions. Any sponsors of the show, really anyone who wants to sue us. They're just our opinions. That's it. So if you want to sue us, it had nothing to do with you. And as always, if you do not like these opinions, there may be better ones next time.